So, before I even start, I want to talk about this new Captain America movie that just dropped yesterday as I'm recording this video. Before I go super deep into why I don't like this movie personally, I want to give a positive output to the actual movie. So, starting with Anthony Mackie's performance in this movie, I think he's pretty good. He has a lot of good chemistry with all the actors who are on screen. I don't have a problem with him being the new Captain America. I know a lot of people have that problem, especially from the last thing that he was in, which was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I do think Anthony Mackie as an actor, and especially in this movie, he's doing a good job portraying this character as a guy who just wants to be friends with everybody. But the main thing about this movie is not his performance, nor say, or either the characterization of Sam Wilson as Captain America. It's more of the stuff around it that really makes this movie feel kind of a misfire. But I'm going to go super deep into the movie. I will avoid some spoilers in the beginning, but as I progress into this Crashout review of the movie, I will go deeper into the film and why it does not work as a new entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So hop on in and let's get into it. And let me preface before I go super deep into the movie. I've been defending a lot of Marvel movies as of late, especially after Endgame. A lot of the Marvel movies have been kind of divisive in terms of the direction of which the films are going with the phases. This current phase is completely aimless, and there is nothing that is happening that is substantial to the actual main story. And when I say this, I have to kind of pull in some films that I've actively defended with the last two phases, especially the Eternals. The last Spider-Man movie was another one where I actively defended the fuck out of it. And even Shang-Chi and Black Widow were other films that I actually actively enjoyed in the current phases. But aside from that, this new Captain America movie is just, it's not it. And to kind of lay out why this film doesn't work, you're gonna have to start with the beginning, basically starting with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. That film was mostly about political espionage and how the shadow governments are trying to infiltrate America and try to brainwash America into believing, American nationalist tendencies. And The Winter Soldier also had the backdrop of a B movie. So there was two things that were clashing together, but it felt seamless compared to The Winter Soldier and the Falcon TV show. And also now this, where it completely retcons basically the entire season or miniseries of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and completely forgets the thematic of Sam Wilson being this guy who really wants to be a part of the government while also be for the people. In this movie, Captain America 4, Brave New World, you have Sam Wilson who is at odds again with the government, and he's trying to buddy up with the president, President Ross, played by Harrison Ford. And together, they're trying to reteam the Avengers after the events of Endgame and the other events that happened in Eternals, where the Celestial Island erected from the Earth and is now sitting there. The antimanium raw material that is harvested from that Celestial Island is being traded by a lot of countries throughout the film, and you see all of these countries come together and they're trying to make a trade deal with this new material. So you have that backdrop. You also have Sam Wilson, who's trying to be still a part of the government while also be against it for some reason. And then you have this shadow figure, which I will not spoil, who is trying to do something a little bit weird to America. And on top of that, you have Red Hulk, who is inside of General Ford's body, or President Ford's body, and is ready to bust out at any moment. So you have all these storylines all together, multiple storylines, and this film decides to go with all of the storylines and try to clash them together, but it doesn't seem seamless. Instead, you're just following this film along beat by beat, minute by minute, of just all these themes coming back and forth, and they're not like fleshed out. They're not completely to a point where you can like take a look and like feel a lot of like the themes. It's happening quick, and it's a 2-hour movie, and you can tell right from the beginning that this film had a lot of reshoots, and a lot of trouble in the editing booth, as the editing is very incoherent and very intelligible in terms of just scenes beginning and scenes ending. Especially when you get to the parts where you have these characters riffing off and dialoguing about the government. That's where the film starts to fall apart. Now, I said before, positively, I think the performances, especially from Anthony Mackie, are really good. Like, especially Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, some of the new characters who appear in this film. The Israeli soldier who was a Black Widow operative who is now working for the government, the American government. She is pretty good. I actually like her character, despite my takes on, the political landscape that's happening right now in America. But yeah, like, she's good, and everything else is fine. But I think, again, the problem that I personally have with this movie, and a lot of people have been highlighting throughout this current week when this film came out, is just, one, the political undertones with it playing around with fascism and authoritarianism. This film tries to go through like a middle ground in terms of it being like a film about like this president who has anger issues and wants to unite the country to become, a superpower. But the problem is that's actually happening now, today, like in our like American landscape. And like that's happening to our like current American landscape politically. And the message is just, it's completely wrong. It's off base. You have this whole entire thing being about, this president who wants to unite a country but is enabling in fascism and authoritarianism and just political themes that don't jive with the current political landscape. I keep, going around in corners in terms of that, but I have to like highlight it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. This film tries to pin it down and tries to make a middle ground, but the middle ground does not work. You don't go into bed with authoritarianism people or just fascists in general or Nazis. You just don't. You don't have that middle ground. Instead, you should be, fighting against the government, which Captain America is like that, is supposed to be like that. He's not supposed to be buddying with the government. Sam Wilson as a character, for some reason, especially since if you've seen the TV show, you think that he is at a point where he can just like be autonomous and anonymous away from like the government. But nah, like he's back, like hanging out with the president. He's trying to, be the perfect guy to help the world and America, but it doesn't work here. It doesn't jive. And even then with Isaiah, who was the first Black Captain America, who was also eugenically engineered as, the super soldier, but was thrown in jail because but here he gets mind controlled by the shadow entity, and he tries to kill the president, and it's a whole thing. And that's like another storyline they try to like pull together, and it's very poor. And you can tell like they're really trying to like pull all these like strings together, and it doesn't work. Now, again, I will say this. I think for some people who are just not annoyed by like the political themes or just anything to do with what is the current state of the Marvel universe right now, which is like aimless bullshit, e-shitification of just the multiverse and just how all these like stuff are trying to like come together, but it just doesn't work. General audiences, if they haven't like watched any of the TV shows or movies that it's referencing, they'll be lost. But if you don't really care about all that and you just have seen like the shows and the TVs and the movies and just all that, you just don't care, like you'll be fine. But for someone who has been actively defending the Marvel Universe for the past couple years after Endgame, this continues to be the most disappointing thing about the entire landscape of superhero cinema. This just isn't the thing. And again, Marvel hasn't learned from, the downfall of Jonathan Majors, and they still haven't learned what audiences want and need. And it just seems like they either want to go super serious with the political espionage themes woven into the phases right now, or they want to completely go full nostalgia bait with just throwing all these nostalgic characters and just playing them up, like the last movie that came out, Deadpool and Wolverine, which you can check out my review for that on my channel. I have a lot of things about it, and I really talked about how Marvel is completely crashing out with just what is going on with their current phase as of late. But I don't need to say anything too much further about this film. I will say, spoiler alert, this is where I kind of spoil the rest of the movie, because it kind of threw me through a loop, and I was just yeah, I don't know where this is going, and I don't know how this entire phase is going to continue. So if you haven't seen the movie, you can check out here. I gave this movie a 2.5 out of 5. Actually, no, a 2 out of 5. Goodbye. But yeah, let's talk about the ending. So the ending of this movie, basically Falcon, the new Falcon, played by Danny Ramirez, he gets hit by a missile. It's a whole thing where Japan is having trouble, obtaining the material, and Harrison Ford is getting angrier and angrier. And then there's fighter jet war in the coast of I think the U.S. and Japan. It's a whole thing. New Falcon gets shot by a missile, and he's in critical condition. And then Bucky Barnes appears, and he does this little afternoon special monologue to help Sam Wilson out and find the brighter side of things. And then eventually Sam Wilson saves the world from the missile crisis, and also the Red Hulk, who turns into the Red Hulk at a presidential meeting outside the front lawn. It's a whole thing. And then also Sam Wilson does the afternoon school special monologue at the end, and it's a whole thing, and they all cry, and that's it. That's the end. But I think what really sealed the deal and was okay, I truly don't know what's going on here. I don't know what Marvel is going to do, and I don't know what direction they're going to take with Sam Wilson being the leader of the Avengers. As even before this whole spiel starts, the president brings Sam into the Oval Office and tells him that he wants to reinstate the Avengers. Problem is that movies ago, half of the Avengers fought about the possibility of the government taking over the Avengers and making as a terrorist entity, and half of the Avengers were nah, we don't want to do that, and the other ones were just yeah, let's do it. That's why it was called the other Captain America movie, Civil War. So with that in mind, you then see Sam Wilson fight off the bad guy. The president turns himself in, and he goes into the Raft, which was the underwater prison in the middle of the ocean, and he secludes himself and goes, hey, I'm just going to not be president anymore, and I'm just going to do the right thing and just stay here forever. And that's basically the end of the movie, where you just see President Ross become the bigger man compared to what, you would expect in real life. But, this isn't real life. In real life, we have a president who doesn't want to be the bigger man or be the hero of a situation. He just wants to, fuck shit up. But again, wrong message, wrong time for this movie. And even more so, the end credits scene is very nonsensical and just yeah, we know this, with this shadow entity, Bradley, who is played by, not Bradley, but Samuel Stearns, played by Tim Nelson. Basically, Samuel Stearns is the guy who can control minds, and it's a whole thing where he's controlling the minds of these people, and including Harrison Ford, who is also intertwined with the theme and the plot line of him trying to save himself from a heart failure, and he gets the gamma ray, or the gamma thing, happened to his body, blah, 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 but yeah, eventually Samuel Stearns, he gets locked up, and the post-credit scenes is just him saying, oh yeah, there's more people out there from different worlds who are going to come after you and kill you. To Sam Wilson, he says this, and it's implied, and you already know that this is the multiverse. There's a lot of stuff from like the multiverse is going to converge, and blah 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 blah. You know what it is. So that's why I give this like a 2.5. It also wasted Giancarlo Esposito's time because he just shows up and he's just like a mercenary who just appears, shoots some shit up, and then like that's it. But far from that, this movie is just, it's incoherent. It's all over the place. The editing is terrible. The CG is dog shit. It's like doo-doo water with like the CGI kind of being like reminiscent of like PS3 games. Like it needed like 3 or 4 passes. You can tell like the reshoots were substantial, but also very incoherent in terms of the editing choices and editing places between like the reshoots and the scenes that were shot before the reshoots. And then on top of that, a lot of these characters are wasted. Some of the acting is good and serviceable enough, but it doesn't like stop itself from it being, a really terrible film. But at the same time, the direction is very studio driven, algorithmic. And on top of that, it's nonsensical and it doesn't have any weight towards the current phase that is happening right now with Marvel. So again, that's why I give it a 2 out of 5. I did like the director's first movie or second movie, Loose. Julius Ona directed Loose a couple years ago, which dealt a lot with like racism in America. So at first you're just like, okay, this fits because he made a movie about like the current racial landscape that's happening in America. But the problem is that Marvel is at a point where they just started hiring a bunch of, Sundance winner directors and try to like enable them and also, puppet them to make a corporate shitto film. And yeah, this is what it is. It's the new corpo shitto film. Gloop shitto. But yeah, I crashed out. I'm done. I don't like this movie, and I hope the Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four is good, but I highly doubt it. It's over for Marvel. I think James Gunn needs to figure out what's going on with the DC universe, because if the DC universe with Superman flops, then the superhero genre is in trouble, or will be in trouble. But yeah, that's my review for Captain America 4 without notes. I just did this all by myself. Yay! So, yeah, that's basically it. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I will be reacting to the BAFTA winners soon. That's on Sunday. I don't know if I want to do like a live video. I'll figure it out. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. Take care. Peace out. Bye-bye.